Everyone. So for our guests that have just joined us, welcome. We're super excited to host you. There's no need to turn on your video feed at this point in the event. Maybe once we get to the live Q&A, folks can turn on their video feed at that point. We can get a photo op and all of that good stuff. But for the time being, you can turn your video feed off. Make sure to stay on mute so that we can minimize any distractions and focus on the Microsoft team members that are here to present. Now, this is a live event and we want you to make the most of it. So do ask questions in the chat. Once our speakers introduce themselves, our panelists introduce themselves and what they do at Microsoft, feel free to direct questions to them in the chat as well. Once we get to the live Q&A section of this event, you can also ask questions in the chat that I will read off to the panelists, and you all will have a better idea of the opportunities within the Microsoft OXO or Office Experiences team. You'll have a better idea of the Microsoft culture if this is your first Microsoft event, but we're super excited to have you, and let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I like to do at our events is give you guys a quick run of show or our agenda so that you know what to expect. So the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to introduce myself, talk a little bit about the background between Trabajamos and HBCU Connect and Microsoft, and more importantly, this special VIP opportunity for you because you are having a special opportunity and to connect with team members from Microsoft and potentially land an interview. So we're gonna go into that. Then after my quick welcome, I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker, who is actually Igor Zaika, who's a technical fellow. So my apologies for not updating this particular slide, but I do have Igor's slide to follow once we get to the keynote. So sorry about that. But then I'll introduce you guys to the team members that have volunteered their time today from the Office Experiences team to talk about a little bit about their background, who they are, their path to Microsoft, some of their experiences, what they currently work on, to give you all a better idea of the background so that you can identify with some of the things in their past and their background that led them up to their career now at Microsoft. So we're super excited to introduce you to the team. Then once you know who you're speaking with and who the team members are and a little bit about their background, we're going to have a panel discussion. And in that panel discussion, the intent is for me sort of to be an advocate for you as potential future Microsoft employees or candidates that may go through the interview process. And I'm going to ask some questions of the team to get a better idea of the Microsoft culture, what it's like to work for Microsoft, what it's like a day in the life, different things and reasons why people stay at Microsoft or, or are happy that they continue to work at Microsoft, right? So we're going to have that panel discussion, and then I'm going to open it up and look for questions from you in the chat that I can then ask to the Microsoft team members that are here with us today to give you guys an opportunity to get those questions answered. Then at the end of the event, we'll talk about next steps to make sure if you are interested in interviewing, you know what to do and then what to expect after the event. All right, so with that being said, quick intro on myself. Like I said, my name is Will Moss. I'm the CEO and founder of HBCU Connect and also a partner with Trabajamos. A little bit of history if this is your first time connecting with us for one of our diversity events with Microsoft. A big shout out to Microsoft because a long time ago, it was just us and a website, hbcuconnect.com, which is a social network similar to a LinkedIn, but primarily focused on African-American professionals that have gone to historically Black colleges and universities. We also used our technology to launch several sites, not only focused on the African-American community, but also focused on the Latinx community as well. But Microsoft built a partnership with us many years ago in recruiting online with our particular audience. And as we started to drive more people to the job opportunities at Microsoft, one of our partners at Microsoft said, hey, this is great. We're getting lots of traffic and interest in our opportunities, but we want to make sure that your candidates, being that they're diverse candidates, that they get a good look from our hiring managers, our leadership, and have the opportunity to interview. So they put the ball in our court to come up with a solution for that. And we decided, hey, why don't we do exactly what you're asking for? We'll do some events and we'll invite you to bring your hiring managers, your leadership, your recruiters, and also some folks from the team that maybe can identify, with the candidates. Then we'll figure out the right locations for the event to invite talent in to get to know Microsoft better, to network, and then that would lead into interviews, usually on the next day after the event. And then over time, as we launched this initiative, many folks started to get interviewed after these events and get hired from these events. Now, fast forward to where we are, once 2020 hit and COVID-19, unfortunately, um, we had a lot of events on the docket to do with Microsoft in different locations like Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, California. And instead of canceling those events, kudos to Microsoft, we decided to flip those events from being physical events to being virtual events and leveraging the Microsoft Teams technology. And coincidentally, the first event where we experimented with this was that one of the hiring teams was Microsoft Teams. So fast forward to what we're doing now with this event. As I said, it's a diversity event, primarily focused on bringing in more Latinx talent, but also African-American talent as well. So we launched an initiative called Trabajamos, specifically to expand our reach within the Latinx community, to invite more Latinx professionals in to take advantage of these opportunities as well. So what does that mean for you today? Like I said, these events are not just, listen and learn. These events are geared towards creating awareness about the opportunities, allowing you to ask questions and engage, and hopefully you'll be excited enough to go through the interview process and potentially be hired to work at Microsoft. So this is a specific event where the intention is to create an opportunity for you to get hired. So definitely stay tuned, ask questions, and learn more about the Office Experiences team within Microsoft. All right, so with that being said, let me go ahead and introduce our keynote speaker. I have been lucky enough to have been on an event with Igor before, but Igor Zyka is a technical fellow within the Office Experiences team, OXO Shared, from what I understand. So Igor, if you'd like to go ahead and take over and introduce yourself and start with our keynote.
Yeah, thank you, Will. Really appreciate events that you run, and really appreciate the opportunity to come back. So glad to hear that it worked out okay the previous time. And unfortunately, Dan, who is an amazing speaker, so he has big shoes for me to fill. Who was going to do a keynote, could not make it at the last point in time. But I was super excited to take on this opportunity, because this time around we are doing this with a little twist that we will discover during the keynote, where we are going to talk about OXO shared organization, but we are going to spend more time on one specific opportunity that is very, very exciting. But a little bit about myself. So I am technical fellow and vice president at Microsoft. So I run one of the 4 engineering teams that are part of the OXO. Our team is called Shared. We build a lot of the common components and services that effectively make Office. And if you use Microsoft Office, you most likely have used something that one of the people on my team have built, whether it's user interface, whether it's multi-user editing in any of the applications. A little bit of background for me. So I'm originally from Russia. So maybe you've guessed from my accent, maybe not. Sometimes people say that I sound like Norwegian. My name is kind of Norwegian, so it's okay to be confused. And when I was in university, I actually studied physics. So I started some of the programming before I went to the university, but then I decided that physics is amazing. So I love it. Love watching all of the videos. There was no YouTube back then, but there were some shows on TV that I could watch in Russia. And I went and studied physics. It turned out to be a good education for engineering career, because one of the things that was most surprising to me about my college experience is that for the first 2 years, as part of the physics course, we were just studying math, and people were complaining, what's going on? We are here to study physics and we are studying math, but it turned out that it was actually good. It's a good opportunity to really focus on the structural thinking. But then I continued to coding in the background, and then realized that physics is amazing, but I actually like computers more. And they've kind of gradually started to take some of the courses as part of the college. And then after college, I actually never worked as a physicist anywhere. So my internships were in computers, and and my first job was in computers as well. And I've joined Microsoft 27 years ago, so it sounds scary to even look at this number because I don't feel that old. And I actually had job and career before Microsoft, so which sounds even scary. And I've been at Microsoft since then. And before Microsoft, I was researcher, so that was my first job. I had a startup, and I started as a IC engineer on Word team when I joined Microsoft, and then I became a manager and now run big engineering projects for Microsoft. So that's my background, and I'll take part in the panel conversation as well. So if there are more questions that will come up, so I'll be more than happy to answer them as well. And I think that the first thing that we are going to do is play videos that we put together that describes what office experience organization is about.
There's no audio.
Will, I think you have to unmute yourself.
Are you guys able to hear now?
No.
So nobody's hearing audio. I can restart it. I may have to reshare my PowerPoint. Okay, let me reshare 1 second.
I can't do a lot right.
Okay, so let me reshare with sound.
The impact that technology is having.
Are you guys hearing it now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
On the world is greater than it's ever been.
Especially in the days of COVID, hybrid and remote work, a huge set of opportunities for us to define how humankind uses computers.
We would love for you to come be a part of our community and enrich the lives of people all over the world.
Opportunity here is nearly endless, and that's why I am part of OXO.
OXO, or the Office Experience Organization, is responsible for the core experience of Office. And that's across these apps that you know incredibly well, like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and tons of technologies that light up across the entire Office suite.
Designers, engineers, program managers, data scientists, we are focused on delivering productivity tools and empowering people to achieve their best in their workplace and in their homes. The office that we are now working on is highly collaborative, highly connected to cloud, powered by a number of different services. It has artificial intelligence built into it. We use data analysis and machine learning for improving the engagement of our customers with Office. All of these modern trends, from cloud computing to edge computing, are encapsulated in what we are doing and what we are driving forward, trying to improve the productivity and the ease of use for the humankind.
There are 4 main teams in OXO: Calc, Canvas, Fuel, and Shared. The Calc team has at its heart Excel, wildly popular, really well regarded. But that team does a lot more than simply build Excel. They define the Office platform that's used across all the Office apps. There's AI technologies that we're building in Calc that we use to recognize real-world entities.
It's a team which is focused on calculations and really understanding, wrangling, and analyzing the world's data.
We're helping students and teachers and average people collect information using forms and then process and analyze those in Excel and other apps. The Canvas team is responsible for 2 of our flagship apps, both Word and PowerPoint.
Canvas is at the forefront of some of the product innovations that we drive across Office. with machine learning and artificial intelligence and collaboration across all of the different authoring experiences that we have. Our Fuel team is a team responsible for a number of different missions.
You might be measuring the effectiveness of our deployment in large organizations on one day, driving growth of Office to consumers through an upsell from free web apps to rich apps another day, and then on a third day, helping to improve Microsoft and all of our employees' engineering system.
So important mission for our Fuel organization is to deepen the trust between our products and Microsoft and our customers. Customer trust is a very important part of our mission.
The shared team is one of the places that we do a lot of innovation that we're going to bring into apps in the future. Our Fluid technologies are a great example of this. Fluid is an entirely new way of creating collaboration and connection between people in any application.
We run obviously on Windows, but we run on a Mac, iOS, Android, on the web. And big responsibility of the shared team is to deliver the components which span all of these different platforms. We have hundreds of millions of customers using our products on a daily and monthly basis. Hundreds of services and microservices delivering the experiences that we build. Our code base comprises for hundreds of millions of lines of code with no exaggeration, which we then have to build and release effectively every day.
It's possible to have an incredibly diverse and impactful career all while being at the same company. And it's true, we've changed a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. And one of the things that we like to say is that we want to not be know-it-alls, rather learn-it-alls. We want to have an open mind. We want to be curious and interested and express our ideas as hypotheses to be tested. We really understand that there's a wide range of people out there with different backgrounds, different work styles, different things they're dealing with in their everyday lives. We have robust employee resource groups to help everyone find a community that they feel a part of, to broad training of our employees, to simply talking about inclusion as a core part of who we are as a company and about the culture that we want to create.
We need to obviously represent the audience that we are trying to empower. And so we operate in a number of different countries. It is all about bringing a diverse set of people and diverse thinking together to build products which our customers love.
The Office Product Group is an amazing organization, and now is an amazing time for you to be a part of it and enrich the lives of people all over the world.
Yeah, thank you, Will, for playing a video. It's obviously I'm a little bit biased, but every time I watch this video, and usually I watch it at events like this, I get inspired myself, and then I remember that I'm already part of the team, and it's just really amazingly exciting. And I hope that all of you really enjoyed just seeing the breadth of the tools that we built and just how many people they touch and how those tools are important, especially now during the pandemic, where so many people have to work remotely, have to work from home. So in a panel, we will cover any opportunities that you've seen this in this video. But this event, as I was saying, is a little bit special because what we do is in our organization, as you've heard Joe say, that we aspire to not be know-all, but be learn-it-all. One of the things that we've done over the course of the last 2 or 3 years is to look at what can we do to really more fundamentally re-envision productivity and really serve our customers and people who work in a new and innovative way. And we came up with this new application, which is called Microsoft Loop, and I'll do a little bit of a deep dive specifically in this application and do all of the opportunities that are available to all of you to be part of this team. And Will, if you could go to the next slide. So this is a screenshot of Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft. This is a screenshot from last November from a big conference that we run called Ignite, where we usually announce either products that we are delivering or big future-looking projects that we are going to run. So one of the biggest announcements, probably the biggest announcement of the Ignite conference this past year was announcement of the Microsoft Loop application. And this is a picture of Satya talking about why we've decided to do this. Why do we need to add a new application to an already very powerful and very diverse set of applications that are part of Microsoft Office? And this is just a realization of how much the world has changed over the last 10 to 20 years, because we have ubiquitous connectivity. So almost everyone, not everyone, we need to work as a society and the world on this, but almost everyone has connectivity. Almost everyone has mobile devices. There is an expectation that people are going to work together, and there is a lot of desire for teams to work in an inclusive and collaborative way. And all of this was just multiplied and brought to focus by the pandemic. And we wish pandemic did not happen. It's not something that we would wish on ourselves or anyone in the world. But one thing that did happen is that it forced all of us as a society to really accelerate transition to remote work, and it forced companies like Microsoft, that are a big provider of tools, to really deeply look inside ourselves on how can we do better? How can we recognize all of the patterns and all of the need of modern work and do something breakthrough? And Microsoft Loop is our solution. So if you could go to the next slide, fantastic. And I'll actually read some of the taglines because Microsoft Loop is something that is very new for us. So we're actually practicing saying the right words to describe this application. It's not out yet. I will show you a video of an application, but it's something that is brand new that we are building. But in this new world where you have teams of people who are constantly creating, communicating, and interacting with each other, how do we make sure that we can give them a tool that allows them to be productive and stay together and think and plan and create together? And this is what we call Microsoft Loop. And if you go to the next slide, Will, the way we define loops, loop is an application that consists of 3 individual components. So one of them is called components. It's an individual units of information. You've seen some of them in a video. We were still calling them fluid components when we were talking about this. But if you imagine things like tables, slides, bulleted list of objects, views in a database, for example, when there is an issue on a GitHub issue that you can put anywhere in your system, and all of the data is going to be live and available to everyone. Pages is a new flexible canvas that we are building that allows us to put any type of information on. Any fluid component can go on any fluid or any loop page. You can still hear me use fluid instead of loop. And then workspace is the place where you organize all of the pages, all of the components together, and you invite and collaborate with other people. If you go to the next slide, and the concept is that it allows us to bring all of the information and all of the people in one place, so that people can create new information, connect to external information, keep everyone in sync, and create together. So that's the concept of loop. And if you go to the next slide, to put all of this together, we'll play another video that demonstrate how all of those components work.
Okay, you guys let me know if you can't hear the audio, but I'm going to go ahead and play it.
Loop consists of 3 core elements.
It's good.
Loop workspaces,
Awesome.
Loop pages, and Loop components. Loop workspaces are shared spaces that allow you and your team to see and group everything important to your project. Add Office docs, notebooks, files, links, whiteboards, or anything else related to your project. Loop pages are flexible canvases that grow to match the size of your ideas. Pages put the focus on your work, bringing together powerful tools that adapt to meet the needs of your project. Every Loop page can feature Loop components. These atomic units of productivity allow the team to pull in live business records, track tasks, or capture progress. But it's not just about content, it's also about connecting with people. Loop always keeps you and your team in sync. You can brainstorm, create, and build on each other's work. You can react to each other's ideas, express your thoughts, and celebrate your achievements together. These capabilities aren't limited to your Loop app. With Loop components, you can bring any part of your workspace into Teams, emails and Outlook, or whatever app your team is using in the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Will, for playing the video. So you're doing fantastic job of remote control and PowerPoint. At some point, we are going to have some magic AI that is going to be able to do it. But hopefully you're as excited as I am about both what OXO does as a big organization and just the amazing opportunities that Loop Up presents both for us as a company to really meet needs of modern teams and productivity in the modern world. But all of you, just the opportunity of working on something that is this innovative and brand new and very, very complicated. So we are not confused about all of the challenges that we need to overcome to make it a reality. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about why you should join our team. So one reason is obviously opportunity. So Joe and Dalesh did a fantastic job in the video just describing the breadth of what is available for you to do and excel at it just in the OXO organization. And OXO itself is a big part of just part of Microsoft, and one of the big reasons for why I think you should consider joining a company like Microsoft is because we provide this breadth of opportunities and ability to learn different type of things, work on different types of products without ever leaving the company and making a huge change in your personal life. And if you look at me as an example, I've been at Microsoft for 27 years, and the main reason for me is that I've been able to work on different types of projects, on different teams, without even leaving the company. And when I look back, I don't think that I've ever really worked on the same exact thing on the same exact team for more than 5 or 6 years. And I almost view that as I had multiple careers even inside Microsoft. So opportunity is a big reason to join us, because anything, like literally anything that you're interested in computer science and computer engineering, we have something for you. But another big reason to join us is our culture. And again, Alesh did a fantastic job of talking about this, so I'm not going to drain all of it. But one of the big parts that we really take to heart is that we build tools for the world. So that's our mission in life. And we think about it as our tools need to enable productive, inclusive teams. It should enable society and people who use our tools to have both productive but fulfilling life. And we want our own team to be a reflection of this as well. So this is why we so deeply believe that that being inclusive is just integral part of how we run our teams. It's not just about we need to make sure that there is representation, although this is an incredibly critical part of it, because we build tools for everyone in the world, and we need our team to reflect people who use our product. By the way, you would be amazed just how many countries and backgrounds are represented on our team. So I am from Russia. If you just look at my direct reports, you are going to have kind of almost all of the globe, all of their like different locations on the globe. Another part that is really, really important about our culture, and I have friends who work across the industry in different companies, and I know that we should not take it for granted, but just how important for us to exercise inclusive leadership. And Joe mentions the fact that we really aspire to not be know-it-all company, but to be learn-it-all company. And certainly, if you ask me, I would always say that I'm learning everything together with the team. I'm part of the team. I'm learning from customers. I'm learning from people on a team. And empathy, transparency, and curiosity is integral part of it. And the last thing that I would say, and it's really important as well, and maybe for many of you it sounds like an obvious thing, but like I've been in many companies on many engineering teams, it's something that you really need to deeply work on and deeply believe in, is what we call customer driven, but making sure that anything that we do, we always listen to customers, that we always start with, why do people want to do something in a particular way? And then using technology to solve those problems, and not come from the point of view of, we have this magic technology, we have a hammer, and we are going to look for nails. So we are really pushing ourselves hard to do this, and that's a big part of the reason for why we are striving to be an inclusive team, because through everything, how we build the team, how we run the team, how we connect with customers, we want to make sure that we not only hear all of the ideas, but that those ideas are at the heart of what we do. And there is just a ton that is going on in the company. I will not give any credit to myself. I'll actually give credit, and I think that some people on a panel are part of this organization. But inside Microsoft, there is a lot of internal support for different groups of people coming together and helping other people with similar backgrounds, educating company on what company needs to know about people from a particular background. For example, the HOLA tile in the top bottom corner. So that's an organization that does not only include people with Latinx background, because I'm part of this organization as well, and I'm not of the Latinx background, but anyone who either from this background or want to learn more can be part of the organization, attend events, contribute, or just learn. And I think that I'll close there, because I want to make sure that we have enough time for panel and Q&As.
Awesome. Now, Igor, I really enjoyed the keynote presentation. I wanted to thank you for being our keynote speaker once again. But before I let you go, can I ask just a couple of questions just to give our candidates an idea of your role and what a day in the life is like for you? What is a day in the life like for you as a technical fellow at Microsoft?
So it's a super good question, and part of the reason for why I still enjoy my job after 27 years of doing it is that I would describe, and I think that many people at Microsoft would answer it in a similar way, is that there is actually not a pattern. So not every day is the same. And the reason why not every day is the same is because we build products. Those products go through natural cycles. So it's a little bit like a college. Like at the beginning of the semester, you still get to know all of the subject. You get to know all of the people. So you need to absorb a lot of information. When we build a new product, we go through a set of stages like this, and then at some point, you realize that, well, you actually need to get something done. You need to learn things. And you realize that, well, time is short and you need to really study. And you see and study, and we have periods of time where we just execute. And then when users get to use your product, you spend a lot more time interacting with users, learning from them, iterating. And the part that I really like is because you constantly go through those changes. So you never do exactly the same thing. And plus, in this industry, technology changes so fast that all of the tools, all of the languages, all of the infrastructures that we use right now is just so radically different from what was in place even 10 years ago that like I almost feel like I work for a completely different company, for a completely different teams, and that even the same product, like I started on Word, Microsoft Word 27 years ago, my teams are contributing work to Microsoft Word, but it's just done in a such radically different ways that it's super hard to believe. But more seriously, so like I look at my job as a combination of a few things. So part is just product and strategy. So a lot of my time is just working with different parts of the team to think through. Okay, so what product do we build and why, and do we have good reasons to do this? Another big part of my job is because I have technical in my title. I run engineering team, so I'm responsible for things like engineering processes, engineering culture, security, performance, and that's incredibly important because our product only make a difference if they're excellent, not just good enough, but excellent, and that's part of my job. And then the third part is team and culture. So a lot of my job is just talking to people. So meeting with people one-on-one, meeting with people in small groups, hearing their feedback, because again, I fully realize that like people on the ground actually doing the work, they're the people with knowledge, and my job is to listen to them, understand what's going on, and make sure that nothing is blocking them. So that's kind of the three category of things that I do, but not all of them every day, and not all of them in the same way.
Awesome. You actually killed two birds with one stone, because my next question was going to be around what kept you at Microsoft for this many years. So my last question, though, just to give our candidates a little bit of context about how your career progressed to you now being a technical fellow and in your current role. What are some of the roles that you have held in the past from the time you started at Microsoft to what led up to your current role?
So when I started at Microsoft, my first role was an engineer on the Word team. My very first job was to add Visual Basic. I'm going to date myself. So to add Visual Basic to Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So some of you might not even know, but you can write Visual Basic macros inside Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and there is object models that you can operate on. So like that cool. That was my job for the first 3 years, and initially I was responsible just for Word, but then I've done a good enough job that after that I was responsible for basically doing this type of extensibility for all of the Office of all of the Office client applications. So that was kind of the first stage of my career, just working on how to make Office products to be extensible. And at that point, I've kind of decided that I've done it for long enough, because I've done something like this even before Microsoft. And my second stint was to work on user experience, because I really wanted to learn on how do we build high quality UI, like what is all of the design aspects, as well as all of the technical aspects of how you build high quality UI on different form factors. And I went and joined what is called Core Experience Team. It's actually part of the shared organization. And I worked on replacing menus and toolbars in Office with ribbons. So if you hit ribbons, okay. But people mostly love it. So it's one of those things. Making a big change in a big product is not easy. And I've learned that it takes a lot of effort. While doing this, I became a manager. Initially I was a manager of sub team on the CXC team that was building all of the core technologies that I used to actually build UI, and eventually I became a manager of the full team. And I've done this for 2 full Office releases. And again, like at the end of that, I've kind of realized that I want to do something different. And I've done a startup project inside Microsoft that did not go well. and I look at it as an example of being customer driven. And just doing what is the highest priority for the organization. It was awesome idea we were executing well, but there was a more important work that we had to do. We had to run Office on all of the platforms, and the leadership of the Office organization, like I was in charge of this engineering team. That was fantastic. They told me is that we love you, we love what your team is doing, but we have this urgent thing to do. So can you all help us? And we went and made Office run well on all of the platforms, and that was an amazing journey because we learned just so much that we did not know. And after that, I became a director. So I started to manage what we call GEMS, dev managers. So manage bigger teams with 2 layers of management under me. And most of my focus for the past 6 years was about making Office to be an awesome tool for collaboration, making sure that Office is a fantastic first-class cloud application that it's awesome in the browser and awesome for collaboration. So that's kind of my compressed journey. And every time I get to manage a bigger and bigger team, I keep asking myself, okay, so like, am I still like learning, or like should I go and just become an AC as well? And I even have this going joke with my manager on like, if you're going to pay me as much, so just doing AC work, like I will do it tomorrow. because I'm an engineer, at heart, but more seriously, like I do whatever needs to be done. So like I try to be in the service of customers and what team needs to do for them.
Awesome. Igor, let me thank you for being our keynote speaker. And I think we'll be lucky enough to have you as a part of our panel discussion as well. But to our candidates, if you'd like to ask questions specifically for Igor as our keynote, feel free to drop those questions in the chat, and then Igor, I'll ask you to keep an eye on the chat for any questions you might be able to answer. All right, so with that, our keynote being delivered, let's also introduce our panelists before we get into our panel discussion. And we'll start with Harry Shin, who's a principal software engineering manager. So Harry, if you're ready.
Hello.
Greetings.
Yeah, my name is Harry. I'm one of the engineering managers under Igor. So there, I work for Nick, who is in between Igor and I. But basically, I work for the larger Office shared experience. I am originally from Busan, South Korea. I currently live in Seattle. Seattle is actually sunny today, so which is very unusual for winter. I graduated computer engineering and economics from Northwestern University, class of 2011. I always thought that I was going to be a computer engineer, like working on chips and stuff. And class of 2011 is around the time when United States were hitting Great Recession and kind of coming out from that crash in 2008. And so there weren't that many hardware engineering jobs at the time. So I was like looking around, I was like, hey, I should look into software engineering field, which seems to have a lot more job in that. So I quickly pivot and start to take a lot of like computer science classes in my junior and senior year, and I had a job that I did landed on a job, a smaller company, and I applied Microsoft as just like a reach goal. I didn't expect that I will get anything from Microsoft, and luckily I got an interview. And then at the time I was doing a full loop of interview with Microsoft in a Apple productivity experience team. So a team at Microsoft that only does Apple products like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and at the time, secretly OneNote for Apple and iPad, Mac, and I immediately told HR that this was totally a mistake. Like, I don't know anything about Apple. Like, I shouldn't really be interviewing there. And everybody told me I'll be fine. And so I did the interview. Luckily, I got the job, and I stayed at Microsoft for 10 years since then. And I continue to work on Apple platform today. I build shared UI for both Mac and iOS. All of my code is in open source, which is kind of cool to be in an open source project. And I also help participate in the React Native community for Apple platform. So yes, I am currently managing a team that is working on a lot of different things to build a great UX component for Apple product within Microsoft org. So that's kind of the summary.
Quick follow-up question for you. What technology? So when you mentioned, you know, a lot of your code that you've written is open source. What technology or what languages are you using mostly to develop code?
Yeah, so when I work for native stuff, like in the open source world, everything is in Swift. Well, the technology that we use is obviously Xcode because that's how you can ship stuff in Apple. We are building stuff with Swift UI, which is pretty new from Apple in terms of a new UX framework for both Mac and iOS. I do contribute to the Office org, like more proprietary code base as well, and that is a lot of C++ and Objective-C because it's just easier to do that interop. For React Native, my team does a lot of JavaScript for the React Native part, but also for the platform itself, there's definitely Swift and Objective-C.
So what would you say is one of the coolest projects you've worked with so far or worked on at Microsoft?
I think I will have to go back when my team was secretly involved in the Microsoft Office products for iPad. At the time, and so we worked really hard to kind of make sure like Office, which works really well in Mac OS and Windows, and trying to bring that into a more smaller tablet form. Like there was a lot of sweat and tears to make that happen. So that was a long journey, and eventually bringing that to iPhone as well. I remember and the memory where it was actually announced that like Apple release announcement and like and Tim Cook showing like an iPad with all the Office apps, like that was a great moment.
Definitely sounds awesome. So let me ask a little bit of advice in your role as a principal software engineering manager. If a candidate asks you, you know, what skills they might need if they wanted to join your team, what would your answer be, you know, to a potential candidate?
Yeah, for me, for my particular team, like number one is customer driven. Because we are a front-facing UX team that we want to make sure that we bring the right experience to our customer for Mac and iOS. So like having that curiosity, having that passion to do the right thing, make sure we deliver best experience for the platform. We don't want to look odd-looking app in the platform. We definitely want to keep our Microsoft identity, but also very true to the platform. So having that customer advocacy and like that resonating to the customer need is like the most important thing to do. And then the second thing is like a passion for tech. I mean, it would be great if you know a lot about the Apple experience, but same as me, like I didn't know anything about Apple until I joined Microsoft. So what we really look for is smart people who are passionate about the tech, and tech you can pick it up and learn, and you continue to do that learning journey. So
Awesome. So Harry, thank you for being one of our panelists. To our candidates, if you have questions specifically for Harry, definitely drop those questions in the chat, and then Harry, I'll ask you to keep an eye on the chat for any of those questions you might be able to answer, and then we'll bring you back for our panel discussion. Okay,
absolutely.
Thanks, Harry.
Bye.
Perfect. All right, so let me introduce our next panelist, and thanks for coming back to join us again for another event. And that panelist is Ed Fisher, Principal Group Engineering Manager. So Ed, if you're ready.
Yeah, thank you, Will. So like I said, I'm a group engineering manager in living in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. Moved here when I just got out of college for my first job. My team's actually both here in Cambridge, and we're also growing in Atlanta. So my team is kind of the East Coast presence for Igor's organization. So standing up for the Eastern time zone and growing in both sites. And what we do quickly is like we own the collaboration experiences, are a big part of the collaboration experiences for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and now the Loop app. And when I say collaboration experiences, I mean things like we've built the commenting surfaces in those products, the ability to mention people, assign tasks to people, generate notifications, and bring you back in when someone replies to my comment, those sort of things. If you've used the products recently and you've had the experience and you come back into a spreadsheet and it says, hey, while you're away, Ed made these 9 changes and here's where they are. So we do a lot of that kind of user experience stuff to help people who are collaborating get back into the flow of their work quickly, to connect to each other. So we're very passionate about that. Again, a little bit about me. I'm from Buffalo, studied computer science at SUNY Buffalo. Anyone who knows Buffalo, you know that certainly when I came out of school, there wasn't much high-tech industry. There still really isn't, so I knew I had to move. I ended up here in Boston. Early in my career, I worked for a few different startups that all succeeded or failed in different ways, but were all kind of great experiences early in my career. The first one was tiny. It was like 6 or 7 people. The second one, I kind of saw the whole business life cycle. I came in as like employee 20, and it was still kind of early in the venture capital cycle with them. And I rode that all the way through to like we built a business, had a pretty big customer base, became a public company, successful, saw our business kind of erode, went through layoffs, so it was like the whole business cycle. So it was a real learning opportunity for me. It was also my first experience with managing a team, came towards the tail end of that. And then the last company, I worked for this company, Groove Networks, where I had gone back to work as an individual contributor at that time. And that was actually a great experience. I was there for 6 or 7 years. Again, we built up a pretty big company, and then we got acquired by Microsoft in 2005. So that's how I ended up at Microsoft, was 2005, almost exactly this month. We're coming up on it in a week or two, I think, of the acquisition. At the time, I thought, I'll be here a couple years, like startups are what I like. All these companies I joined when I was the 15th or 20th employee. It's coming into this big, big, big organization. But that was 17 years ago. So I've been here a while now. And my roles have kind of evolved over time. Like I said, when I came back into Microsoft in 2005, I was an individual contributor. I continued to do that for 3-ish years. Then took a role as a dev lead where I had like a 5 or 6 person team. Again, that was like 3 or 4 years. Then dev manager, and then into my current role where we have kind of a team across multiple sites. Yeah, so that's my story.
So can you talk a little bit about, what the different team members do on your team? Are they all engineers? And what are some of the backgrounds of folks that will work on your team?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like I actually have a fairly varied team because, both in terms of where they work in the stack, like as I described it, we do a fair amount of like user experience work. So I have people working pretty close to the glass, directly on those commenting experiences. Those are very much user facing. But it really amounts to kind of a full stackish team. Like I have people doing back-end integration as well to cloud services, to SharePoint, certainly to the new Loop service, to what we call the substrate, where all these signals go to about I replied or you mentioned me and all that. So people doing that kind of integration work to our cloud services. And then I also have a data science team under me. And so we're looking to integrate more intelligence into all these experiences. And so people doing data science and machine learning work as well.
Awesome. And so what technologies or languages, if I'm a candidate and I end up interviewing for your team, what kind of technologies would you expect, or what kind of skills would you be looking for?
Yeah, like I said, like we really do kind of what would be loosely described as full stack. Like I have roles up and down the stack from the glass and the UI all the way down to the integration. Just like Harry described a second ago, like for integration into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, especially, that tends to be C++ is what the native code base is. Mm-hmm. But we have, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, really invested in bringing the web stack to these front ends. And so my team is doing a lot of TypeScript, JavaScript, kind of React, Redux, web technology type UI work now. And we've blended that into these native code bases in a way that we can kind of deliver things in a very kind of web servicey way. So I have people across the whole spectrum. People are, writing TypeScript, JavaScript almost full time. People are doing like C++ and C# even service side. And then I have the data scientists who are, coding a lot in Python when they're doing their modeling.
Awesome. So to our candidates, if you have any questions specifically for Ed, feel free to drop those questions in the chat. And Ed, I'll ask you to keep an eye on the chat for any questions you might be able to answer, and then to hang on for our panel discussion coming up after we introduce all of our panelists. So thanks, Ed, for being one of our panelists.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, so our next speaker is Srinivas, who is a senior engineering manager. Srinivas, if you're ready to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do at Microsoft.
Thanks, Will. Hello, all. I'm Srinivas Tinamalaya. I'm originally from Bangalore, India. I'm currently living in Redmond, Washington. I did my bachelor's of engineering in electronics and communication in India, and I've been working at Microsoft for over 8 years now. So after I did my BE in electronics and communication, I was into embedded systems, writing a lot of VHDL code or into embedded systems. So I was looking for jobs only around these areas and specifically applying for those companies. And later on, the opportunities in those areas were very little. So, and I also realized writing VLSI code is equivalent to writing any software code. So parallelly, I was getting to know more software languages and applied for a few software companies and even worked for 8 years in India in few software companies. Then I moved to US, where I started I started my career in US as in a consulting company, and I started as a vendor in Microsoft. And I learned there was an open position within our group, and I prepared myself for a couple of months and gave a shot, and I cleared the interview, and I got a developer position in Big Ads team in 2014. And since then, I worked in different roles and different organization, working as a senior developer, and now I'm in OXO group under Igor, managing a team which manages file recommendations for Office surfaces and also the content recall. Like if you visit any of the Office surface, like office.com or Word, Excel, PowerPoint, the first homepage you hit will be talking to our service to get personalized recommendations for the customers. So we do a lot of AI work, data plumbing, as well as like listening to your activities. Like we can only recommend better if we know you better. We profile based on your activities, based on your content, your network, whom you are talking to, what your emails look like, what your chat conversations look like. So based on all these criteria and your activity, we come up with the ML model, which can recommend files for you.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask you a sort of a different question just about your background, so that our candidates can relate to who you are and your background. What made you choose to go into engineering in the first place? And then how did you get into software engineering?
Yeah, engineering was always exciting thing for me. I wanted to build stuff, and it could be mechanical engineer if it is taken technically, but I wanted to build electronic stuff, and that's how I developed interest in electronics and engineering. And then I figured out all these engineering streams are related. Like it in case of electronics and communication, it's very next to software engineering. Like you get to learn some of the software languages as well as the data structures and the computer organization, which is overlap on what info science or computer science is all about. So then I realized I was more into like getting to know the language, getting to know the organization of the computer, and getting to know about this data structures and algorithm. That's when it like I landed on both learning the coding language as well as getting to know the systems better, embedded systems, and those kind of things. Will, you are muted.
Thank you. So what I want to do now is I want to start our panel discussion. So all of our Microsoft folks, if you can turn on your video feed along with Srinivas, that would be great. And I'm going to kick off the first question to Srinivas, since I have you sort of spotlighted at the moment while the rest of the team activates their video. And then to our candidates, if you have some questions that you would like for me to ask during our live Q&A and our panel discussion, you can get those questions ready. So I'm going to go ahead and spotlight the Microsoft folks that once you get your video feed up. So we have Igor, I'll go ahead and spotlight you as well. And Harry, if you're ready, I'll spotlight you as well as we kick off our panel discussion. All right, so my first question for Srinivas, and I'm going to ask the same question to everyone, and I'm sure there may be some common denominator types of answers, which is fine, but I think that'll just reiterate part of the Microsoft culture. So Srinivas, my question is, what is it that you like most about working for Microsoft?
Yeah, that's a hard question. Like, there are many things that I like about Microsoft, and I can add three main points that I like most about Microsoft. The first thing is the empowerment we get. I understand my role, and I feel like I have complete trust from the management. Also, the freedom and flexibility that I can execute whatever I'm assigned with. Like that freedom I have never experienced in the other companies I've worked in India or in US, and that gives you more enthusiasm or excitement in your day-to-day work. Like while you are building stuff, you know you are in control of everything and you can get it done. The second thing is the learnings. I've learned so many technologies, so many methodologies, which has helped me professionally as well as like personally to build that positive attitude in life. And third thing is the inclusion. Like as Igor was mentioning, the products and the services we deliver today is not just like delivering something to the user. Adding those aspects of all the angles, what different like backgrounds can bring in is the key component. Like that is when the product is complete. It's not just doing one core scenario or one particular purpose. Accommodating everyone's need and answering it in the right way is would make a product better. And that's when we need like diverse background to deliver those kind of things. And that is one of the learning that I would like to mention.
Awesome. I'll pass that question on to Igor. What is it, Igor, that you like most about working for Microsoft? And thank you, Srinivas.
So like similar to Srini's answer, where there are a lot of things that I like about Microsoft, but I'll pick some of the different ones. One thing that I really like about Microsoft is just people that I work with, and so maybe I'm just lucky and the specific group of people that I happen to interact with, but I interacted with a lot of people over the period of time. Is just a fantastic, very diverse group of people. So different backgrounds, different interests, and everyone is just helping each other, and different skill sets and different strengths just complement the team. And so again, maybe I'm lucky, but I just happen to consistently hit a good experience with people that I am working with, and it's really important for me. It's really important. And then the second thing is, and Srini touched on this a little bit, but it's just super exciting to work on a product that is used by a lot of people. And it's not some vanity statement. It's just one of those things where when you're a builder, you just get completely different engagement with what you are doing, technologies that you use, ability to like really see how people respond to it and really just make it better. So that's a unique opportunity. And again, like I've been lucky enough that other than a couple of startup projects that I've done in Microsoft, I always worked on products where there are like literally hundreds of millions. Actually, one of the services that the teams that Srinivas runs has 1.5 billion monthly active users. So when you have that much usage, you kind of get a completely different experience that you get when just working on even cool but startup technologies that is not used by anyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Igor. Ed, what would you add as far as what you like most about working for Microsoft?
I'd echo first like what Igor just said, and I talked a little bit about my startup background, and like the one thing that was always missing from those was opportunities, even though it was in some cases like really cool technology. I love the companies, everything. Never had the customer reach or kind of customer impact that we have working on something like Office. So like I love that. And you know, when I look at some of the things we build, like we're closing in on almost 1 million mentions every day in comments. And when I look at those charts and look at how many people are using it and how many sessions of, you know, what we've built gets used every day and what they're using it for, that gets me really excited. The other is like the Microsoft has aspirations to do so many things great, like in terms of like the breadth of what we work on and the quality and reach of the products, that I think when you're building a career at Microsoft, there's so much opportunity there. And that coupled with there's a really great kind of cultural attitude within the company that people will change jobs over the lifetime of their career. They will move on to new challenges. Their roles will change maybe back and forth between IC roles and manager, or they'll do UI work and then go work on a database or Xbox. For building a career, I think it's just an absolutely incredible place to be.
Awesome. And Harry, if you could answer the question as well on what is it that you like most about working for Microsoft?
I feel like all my answer has been stolen by the previous panelist, but I think I'll summarize in this order. So because I'm from Korea, like most of my parents, my family is in Korea, so the pure number of hours that I spent with my colleagues exceed how much time I spent with my own family. And so the fact that I have to enjoy the people that I work with in my waking moment is super important for me. So more than the tech itself, like how we treat each other and how we work together is very important to me. And so I really like my peers, my colleagues, my manager. They all have been been essential for me to stay at Microsoft. I think Igor also mentioned like our company mission is super crystal clear, and it's an Office, like it just matched so well with the overall company mission of like empowering people to do more, achieve more. So and so like I see my success directly contributing to the company, and like I can point my family like this is exactly what I work on. So that's also a really great aspect of things.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that gives us a good idea of some of the themes and common denominators amongst Microsoft employees on what makes Microsoft a great place to work. So thank you all for answering those questions. Now, what I want to do is I want to start to mix in some of the questions that I'm seeing in the chat and ask those questions to our Microsoft team members. So the first one I see is from Sadrach Tijerina, and that is, what qualities and skills have led you all to be successful at Microsoft? So I'm going to default this one to Igor, because I think it aligns with one of the last comments you made about your willingness to get things done, no matter if you're an individual contributor or a leader. But would love your input, and then from anyone else on the team that would like to add on to it.
Yeah, super good question. And again, it's not just one thing, because the job that you do as part of the engineering team is always more complex. So it's almost never one thing that you need to excel at. But I would say that one thing that definitely was important for me, and by the way, it was one of the most fun things as well, but I consistently see this as the early indicator of long-term success is that just willingness to not just be smart, but to invest time and work hard. And for me, like almost never it comes out easy. Like I have to work on things. And like if you haven't read a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers, I highly recommend you read it, because there is a concept there about 10,000 hours. Like no matter how smart you are, to be good at something, you have to spend like 10,000 hours deliberately learning it. And 10,000 hours is a lot of time. It's 5 years full time. And this is how it takes, and you have to have this grit to just not give up and continue to learn and go deep. And so like I had this maybe even too much. So maybe even over focusing on something, but it definitely worked out well for me. And this is one of the things that I see people who are willing to commit at excellence. So they end up being excellent.
Awesome. Would any other panelists like to add on to that?
One thing that I think, like, and I have to challenge myself all the time to do this, but it always pays off, is like, be willing to raise your hand and ask questions. Like, no one knows everything, and you're surrounded by a ton of smart people who want to help you. If you'll just like get over that little bit of fear of like calling yourself out, if you will, that you don't quite know the answer. Because every time I do that, like, it pays off in spades. So many people want to help me. I learn so much. And so that's one thing that comes to mind. I
think that speaks volumes to the Microsoft culture. Appreciate that. Okay, so I see another. So I'm going to prioritize the questions that I see in the chat from our candidates, so that you all, as potential folks that may interview for opportunities with Microsoft, can get some of your questions answered in this panel format. So I'm going to prioritize your questions. So if you got a good question, go ahead and ask it in the chat. And then if I have time for some of the other questions that I've queued up, I'll ask those as well. But the next question I saw that I thought was pretty cool, and if anyone has a really good answer to this that they want to share, I'll just let one of our panelists volunteer. But the question is from Michael Barnes, and that is, what is your favorite Microsoft product and why? And I'd be curious from a technical or behind the scenes aspect, if you have a favorite product, and for a technical reason why you like that product, maybe within Office.
I already answered in the chat, but I'm a little biased because I used to work for OneNote, so I said OneNote because OneNote is essential for me, both work and personally. That I organize all my vacations, like all my family stuff, like all my like manager work that I need to do, all the references. Like I just put everything in OneNote, so OneNote is my favorite so far.
I saw Igor answered as well with Excel and Xbox.
Excel and Xbox, and I think that common theme is that you have to really use the product. So I use Excel a lot and I use Xbox a lot, and both of those products are just so amazingly well engineered. So they're just the best in class, and like I really just enjoy the level of craft that went into both of those.
I'll have to echo that. After I eat dinner, I'll probably get on my Xbox tonight. But I have another kudos to the Office team, because there's a new feature, or relatively new feature, that I use all of the time now. Once I saw someone from Microsoft use this feature within Outlook, where you can tag someone by name, and it highlights their name and pulls their information in and adds them into the email thread. I love that feature. And it's something that we've been using a lot in our communications. Awesome. All right. So in the meantime, I'm going to keep an eye out for some other good questions from our candidates. But while our candidates, if you guys have questions, definitely drop those questions in the chat. But I'm going to ask this next question to the team. So if someone on the team would like to just volunteer an answer to this one, and that is, how has Microsoft supported its employees during the pandemic? And yeah, I'll default this one to Igor. Yep.
I can definitely start, but I think that it would be good to hear from everyone, because we all play slightly different roles, so we'll have slightly different perspective. But I would say that the most important thing for me was that Microsoft was one of the first companies that reacted with the remote work. And I think that I really appreciated it at the beginning, because there was a lot of uncertainty and just decisiveness of how quickly we've done it. I really appreciate this, and it made a difference. Like everyone else in kind of Seattle area kind of went after that, and that was a big help. But overall, like pandemic was not easy. Like I would not say that we've somehow kind of cracked the code of how do we make somebody who sits in a closed room for like 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day, and does not interact with other people live, not go crazy. Like I don't think that we have a magic answer, but one of the things that we pushed really hard is to just be super flexible. So just always repeating to everyone, like definitely to all of the managers, is that people come first. Like pandemic will pass, and we, like, as long as we are all kind of good team who stood together, people are happy, we are going to do super well. So like anytime you need to make a choice to make something work for people versus maybe do a little bit better for a product, just choose people all the time. And that came across as if we had to delay releases, we just delayed releases. If we had to give people more flexibility, so to work from different locations, we absolutely just enabled all of this. So I would say that those were kind of two important things that we've done like very explicitly.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah,
so let me go. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One thing I would like. Oh, Ed, you were talking. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
One more thing I would like. What Igor said, like we had this. Yes, last 2 years was very stressful. Everyone knows that, but the encouragement from the management to take, hey, go burn your vacation, take some time off with family, like that push I'd never seen in any other companies, and I'm also pushing that to my team as well. That's really helpful, helped me a lot, and thanks for the management for doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was just going to say more or less the same thing. Like there was especially a ton of great messaging early on, but throughout this whole 2 years, I think from Satya on down, certainly Igor, Alesh, everyone, to first and foremost take care of yourselves and your family, that everyone's health was the most important thing, that finding a balance and finding our way through the stress was the most important thing. And like it was just very reassuring throughout, certainly when there's all the uncertainty kicking off the pandemic, but throughout the whole thing, I think knowing that the company really wanted to do what was best for individuals, families, whatever that meant, was great.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm going to grab another question from the chat from one of our candidates. Brenna Ramos asked, what was one big challenge you experienced in your career and how did you overcome that? So I'll default this one to Harry. Big challenge in your career and how you overcame it.
Big challenge in my career. I think when I was being a senior to principal level, I think that was the biggest challenge. And so it could be a strength or a curse. Igor, you tell me. Like, I think my superpower is like I raise questions a lot. Like I just go around and say like, what's the state of this world and why are we living in this thing? And I think what really turned me is that like my manager at the time is like, Harry, like stop complaining. You raise all the good questions. Like go fix them. Like and like be a leader and like don't be settled in mediocreness. So I think that's my turning point about like, okay, like then like where do I want to put my energy to actually make a difference? And I'm going to lead the people to bring along and like live in the vision that I want to be. So it's not just a technical challenge. It's like rallying people, rallying your management, like rallying the org to like be in that vision. So I think that was my challenge to push myself from a senior to a principal in office. But Ed and Igor might have a better thoughts on that.
I think that's awesome. I think it's a great answer. Okay, so let me ask another question I see here in the chat, and this one is from Andres Ponce. And the question is around management and leadership strategies or philosophies. So I'm going to morph this question just a little bit to see if there, from a management perspective, We have engineering team managers here. This is a little bit of a unique panel, but it's an opportunity. Are there any themes when it comes to how Microsoft wants its managers to manage their team? Any themes that you all can think of that are reiterated for managing teams within Microsoft? And I'll just leave that one open-ended.
So I'll start the answer, but we happen to all be managers, so I think that we all can contribute to this. But I would say that it's that company is now very different from what it was before, and definitely in the last I never forget when Satya became CEO, but really the management philosophy is dramatically different now than it was let's say 10 years ago, and a lot of the things that we want managers to do is actually encoded in leadership principles and general approach. So, for example, one of the models that we use those words when we talk about management, and actually when we assess performance of managers and how we do, we explicitly look at those slices as model coach care is kind of 3 words that we use, where we want all of the leaders to model the behavior. If you say one thing and do another thing, it's just not good for anyone. So everyone is expected to model the behavior. So coaching is the most important thing because our main goal as managers is enable people and allow them to grow and care. You have to care about people. The first questions that I ask when people talk to me and say, I want to be a manager. So the first thing that I say is that you understand that it's mostly a problem. So it's being an engineer is a lot easier than being a manager. But if you really love, if you feel empathy for people and you really love working with people, so then it's totally worthwhile. But if you do not love this, you should not even start.
Awesome. Not sure if anyone had anything else to add on that, but if not, I've got another question lined up. Okay, awesome. So that's exactly the what I was looking for, Igor. So thanks on behalf of our candidate. So our next candidate that I want to pull a question from is Armando Belloso, and it's about certifications. So as managers, if you've hired anyone or even in your own background, if you've gotten any types of certifications from a technical perspective that or your people have gotten those certifications that you have seen have really helped them in their career, are there any that you can think of, or any examples that you can think of that you'd like to share with our candidates around certifications? And if not, would love to know the Microsoft philosophy when interviewing candidates and thoughts on that.
For me, it doesn't, when I look at a candidate's resume or talk to them in an interview or anything, it's not purely that they have a list of certifications, but the interesting thing is what did they learn from the process of getting those certifications? How are they applying them? And I find there's a lot of interesting stories there, and you get into a lot of people's interesting backgrounds when you understand why they're interested in certain aspects of engineering or what they did with it or how they've applied it in their other roles. So I think it's a lead into a great conversation. For me, at least, it's less about the actual label of whatever the certification is than what they learn from the process, where it's been applied, how they've grown from it and learned from it. So I definitely talk about it when I see them a lot on resumes, and it's a big part of what I end up talking to.
Awesome. Excellent. So I'm going to pull together one more question to ask the team, and that is around diversity, right? So I know Igor talked about diversity in the keynote, but I think as we do these events, it's really great for us to get the perspectives of our panelists around diversity and things that they may have experienced, that you as panelists may have experienced with regards to diversity within Microsoft, or things about the Microsoft culture that you may admire and would like to share with our candidates. So with regard to diversity, I'll just open this up for each of our panelists to just add their thoughts on Microsoft and diversity, and anything you'd like to share for our candidates that are obviously primarily Latinx and African American candidates that are considering careers with Microsoft. So so Igor, I'll let you lead this one, and then we'll round robin to our other panelists.
Yeah, so I'll try to not speak too much because I want to give other people opportunity to speak. But as I was saying, diversity of the team is just absolutely critical for us. And the part that I really like is that we really explicitly focused on this. So we really try to kind of follow in the model coach care. We really try to take it to heart that in order for us to be responsible for the productivity tools that are used everywhere in the world, we have to represent this. So like this has to be part of it. And then echoing what Hiri was saying, and I hope that people are not like scared by this, that we do spend a lot of time at work. So that's just the reality of what we do. And it's really important to feel safe in this environment. And it's really important to make sure that everyone who joins our team is safe and able to do the best possible work that they're capable of doing. That's really important. And for me, like I'm not of African American Black background or Latinx background, so like I will not pretend that I fully understand all of the issues, but I'm from Russia. I came here from a different country. There are a lot of part of the culture that I just completely do not understand at all. And Microsoft made it extremely comfortable for me to be part of this environment. So and that was probably the most surprising thing for me. And I worked outside of Russia before, so my career outside of Russia started in Europe, and it was not that easy. So I can definitely tell you that like working in UK, even though like they speak the same language, some people might dispute this, but it was a very different experience. So like I don't take it fully for granted. Awesome. And like I definitely feel that I need to kind of repay the debt to all of the people who made it good for me joining the company.
Awesome. Ed, did you want to add?
Yeah, like I totally echo what Igor said. Like I think everyone brings their life experiences to work and their backgrounds to work, and like that just makes the product better. It makes our engineering better. You know, I think there's also diversity of just the way, you know, people's personalities, the way they work, and like it's important to come at problems from all angles. And different people, you know, some people are very introverted, some people are more extroverted and think out loud. It makes for a much better solutions when you mesh all of those together. Like I said, as well as, you know, where people have brought their life experiences from and bringing that to the office and to what we're building for our customers. And so from all those angles, it just makes for such a better environment and a better solution all around.
Awesome. Srinivas, did you want to add?
No, I completely agree with Igor and Ed's point. Like diversity is crucial. To give an example, like, yeah, if you are a parent, you'll have better requirements to build any educational product than being a normal person, right? It's like similarly, if there are any customer facing product that used by any diverse background, that they being behind that development makes it a lot easier and helpful in getting that product in a good shape. That is the products and the services that we deliver, as well as the culture within the team. Like as Igor was mentioning, he's from different country. I'm from different country. Coming here, establishing and getting our career grow in this environment is really helpful. By Microsoft being very diversity focused and very diverse team within OXO.
Awesome. And Harry, I'll give you the last word. When you think Microsoft and diversity, anything you'd like to share for our candidates?
I think again, like the importance of this and why is super clear. Like even in the UX world, like we need to make sure our right to left language works well for our Arabic friends, right? And so if I have a team member who can speak Arabic fluently and regularly test our product in Arabic, like there you go, you find bugs. Like, that's great. Like, things that like is important, but it's not like obvious to you to the day-to-day basis. And that's why diversity really matters, because like all together we find each other's blind spots and makes our product better. So the importance of this is super clear. Like, I think as human beings, like I'm not gonna say like Microsoft culture is like perfect, like maybe this is not like, but we're trying our best, and like we're trying to get more candidates to help us grow and learn together. And I think it's really important that like when it comes to like ethical diversity, to like to mental health diversity, to like gender diversity, like those are all key important things that we recognize, and then we have to like educate each other in that like intersections, because like just because I'm a woman minority, that doesn't mean I understand like all the ethnic minority that is faced, all the challenges that we face. So I think like having that honest conversation by having diverse group of people is super important in our team.
Awesome. This is one thing I've admired over the years of partnering with Microsoft, is Microsoft employees and the culture and the leadership not being afraid to tackle even tough questions, and having these live Q&A opportunities, and tackling diversity head on and being consistent is something that I've admired about Microsoft and the culture. So let me be the first to thank all of our panelists and jump back into next steps for our candidates. So candidates, hopefully you all learned a lot about the Microsoft organization, OXO organization, the Office Experiences team. You've had a chance to ask some questions, but you're probably wondering, how do you land an interview? So the number one thing that you have to do, and Jesse, feel free to add into this if you want to add in any detail, but to our candidates, the number one thing you want to do is make sure that we have your resume. So just if you look at the email that we'll send post-event, we'll send you a link to the resume collection page or the landing page for this event. You can upload your latest resume on that page, and then we will share your resumes with the Microsoft OXO team. And then usually what happens is, and don't be discouraged if you don't hear something right away, because we've had candidates from past events that have been hired to the team later on down the road, and later on down the line, interviewing with different managers. We've also had folks that have been hired that have interviewed several times before they actually got the offer with the right team at Microsoft. So make sure we have your resume. Make sure to keep an eye on your inbox or your spam folder within your email, because you might hear from a recruiter that is offering you the opportunity to do a phone screen and submit your application so that they can track you along with a specific requisition that might align with your skill set. All right, so we'll follow up with an email after the event. Jesse, if I left anything out, feel free to chime in.
No, that was perfect, Will. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let me thank everyone for joining us for this event. Let me thank the Microsoft team for volunteering your time, and to our candidates. This event could not be possible if you all did not come to the event. And please do follow up and make sure we have your latest and greatest resume to share with the Microsoft team. And we thank you all for joining us. Everyone have a great evening and take care. Thank you.
Yeah, and huge thank you, Will, for organizing an event and getting all of us together.